Letitia James, James Comey in court today. You see their legal teams are trying to somehow get this whole situation thrown out, but I got news for them. Like any which way you slice it, the federal government is going to be able to come back. I mean, you can try and run out the clock on this. You can say what you want about Lindsay Halligan, and we'll get into that. And hey, maybe they have a teeny tiny little toe to stand on, but it doesn't matter because ultimately the government can say, okay, you want to get rid of Lindsay? We're getting rid of Lindsay if that's what they decide. And they can say, we've now got 6 months to put somebody else in. So this is not a get out of jail free card. This is Letitia and James Comey trying to play things out to the midterms. So here's what we got. Okay, they're in court today. Their legal teams are trying to get rid of one Lindsay Halligan. But, Lindsay in the meantime is bringing all these receipts. Receipts like this. Look at this from James Comey. His notepad saying all the things that they were planning to do with Donald Trump. And then take a look at this one. Oh, remember that house there in Virginia? The $109,000 3-bedroom, 1-bath property that was quote unquote a second home in loan documents. That's coming back to haunt Tishy Baby in a pretty big way. This is the original document, guys, the second home rider, if you will. The second home rider dated in August of 2020 that basically said she was only going to use it for maybe some tiny short-term rentals. She wasn't actually going to rent the thing out entirely, but according to the electric bills, she was renting it to the niece, who was actually also some kind of alleged fugitive. I don't even think I need to say alleged in that case because they were looking for her, the parole officers down in the Carolinas, but somehow she'd hightailed it to Auntie Tish's house in Virginia. And then we have this mortgage on the original document, which she says, okay, well, this is bogus. There's nothing to see here. It did say in that, and she's just claiming this is a power of attorney mistake. Oh, nothing to see here. She claims because it was a mix-up with her power of attorney, who said it was her principal residence. I mean, woo, this lady is not looking so good, especially when you consider the history, right? The history. I've shown you guys the mortgage with daddy too, right? She went down as his wife in that one. I mean, our friends at News Nation running this headline right now, James Comey, Letitia James argued district attorney's appointment was invalid. Charges should be dropped. Well, good luck on that. Here's one advocacy group that also came out almost as though on cue. Advocacy group wants prosecutor Lindsay Halligan investigated, alleging abuse of power in charges against Comey and James. So this is a legal watchdog group, they claim, and they say they've got these bars, that were effectively state bars of Florida and Virginia that are investigating one Lindsay Halligan because they say that she's actually breaking the rules, violating the Virginia State Bar's ethical rules for lawyers in the handling of the criminal charges against Comey and James on behalf of President Trump. They're saying that she never should have moved forward with the indictment because others had chosen not to, and that somehow this was a breach of her power and that she had an overreach here, to which I would just say, you want to talk overreach? Okay, we will talk overreach. I can talk overreach all day long with you people. I'm looking at her right about now. This lady did all kinds of overreach, trying to bankrupt the former president of the United States so he wouldn't run again.
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
Oh, okay. Well, I got news for her. That's really not going to go anywhere. You know why it's not going to? He said, again, just to go back, if you're just joining us right now, Letitia James and James Comey are in court, and they're really getting nervous because all kinds of things have come out. Comey, they're going after him because they're alleging he lied to Congress, that he was part of that whole plot in 2016 to take down the president with Russia. And with Letitia James, I mean, she's got a few different cases going on, right? There's the one in the state of New York where the DOJ, the U.S. attorney in New York, is looking into whether she violated the civil rights of Donald Trump by doing exactly what I just showed you, trying to take all his properties. I mean, it's like we're living in Venezuela or something. Hugo Chavez times 2. And now now we've got her in Virginia, where she may have committed fraud, like full-blown fraud, on those mortgage applications, thereby saving herself, in some cases, between $15,000 and $20,000. So you can't do that. You can't. But their argument in this particular case, and it's an argument that, you know, I'm a straight shooter, you know that, and I'm not a legal scholar, but Andy McCarthy is, and I want to go to some sound from him because he lays it out pretty well, and he also puts forward this, which I want to leave you with before we watch the soundbite, and that is that the federal government has 6 months to replace Lindsay Halligan in the event that the courts decide she can't actually occupy the position. Now, what's really wild is that the person that was occupying the position previously, he's actually good friends, apparently, with the son-in-law of one James Comey, and he turned down the opportunity to move forward on this case. Well, the fact that he turned it down, they're trying to use that as evidence that it shouldn't be a case, which, you know, is completely bogus, because I think if we go back to what Bongino said, remember my friend Bongino saying no one is safe, they're not going to buy any of that? Here's the clip.
Let me ask you about, are you going to be looking into, Cash and Pam, any potential collusion between the DOJ, Letitia James, the novel legal theory of Alvin Bragg, or Nathan Wade, or Fani Willis and the DOJ? Is that something? Has anything come up? Is there any way to determine whether or not evidence was destroyed in any of these cases?
Well, there's always a way to determine that. I don't want to comment on that specific case right now for a reason. I don't want to get ahead of the Department of Justice on that. But I want to say this. You know, the FBI obviously has the public corruption portfolio. And yes, if you are a corrupt politician out there, if you are engaged in behavior, you know what you're doing, we're going to find you. I promise. No one is going to get off. The days of selecting and putting your partisan bias on and taking care of your friends, those days are over. You know what, Sean? I don't have any friends. I don't want any friends. Well, maybe outside of you and a couple of. I don't care. I didn't come here for the money. I didn't come here to make. I know.
No, you didn't go there for the money. I can tell people that for sure.
No, I didn't come here to make friends. I don't give a damn about friends. I don't have any friends. I don't want any friends. I got my wife. I got you, and I got a small crew of people. So I don't need any friends. If
you want a friend in D.C., get a dog.
We're coming for you.
That'll help.
Exactly. You want a friend in D.C., right? Go get a Labradoodle.
Oh my goodness! All right, I love Dan. I love Dan. He really is a good guy. And he, by the way, he's in the middle of a tiff with Senator Massey. If you guys have been following that regarding some of the stuff in J6, and he just called him out completely on Twitter today. It was quite something to see. I mean, the assistant director of the FBI really mad because he had apparently been quite willing and did some talking to Massey, and all of that sort of fell on deaf ears, and he called him out for it. But anyway, Dan is making the point that, you know what, it doesn't matter who you know. So James Comey, even though your son-in-law was working in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Virginia, even though Eric Siebert hung on to his position until the 11th hour, until they had no choice, right? They had to actually, they were running the timeout on this clock. They had to come forward and actually file this indictment, or else it wasn't going to see the light of day. And that's why Lindsay Halligan came in there and did what she did. And now they're trying to say, well, you got to get rid of Lindsay, that it's invalid because she doesn't have the right to do that. But even if they do that, and that's what McCarthy's going to explain for you right here, even if they do that, and it's quite possible that the judges say, okay, Lindsay's not valid, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter because the federal government still has 6 months to put in a replacement so the indictment would hold. Let's go to McCarthy laying it all out.
This really isn't any fault of Lindsay Halligan's. The statute that she was appointed as interim U.S. attorney under allows the president, or through the attorney general, to appoint an interim U.S. attorney for 120 days. And by the time Halligan got the job, her predecessor, Eric Siebert, had already served the 120 days. So they have a good argument that she's probably not qualified under that statute.
So what's the pushback then? Take her side.
Well, I think the pushback is what the Attorney General and the Justice Department want to argue is that authority to prosecute in the United States comes not from the district U.S. attorney, but from the Justice Department and the Attorney General. So in order to try to firm this up, what Attorney General Bondi did was appoint Halligan as a special attorney and say that that was effective as of 3 days before Comey was indicted. The problem is she didn't do it till October 31st, and she's trying to backdate it, and I don't know if that's going to work with the court.
All right, so what would the move would be? Okay, we'll get another attorney. Is that correct? Is that it? Is that one way to fix it?
What could happen? This could be much ado about nothing, because they could disqualify her. But there's another statute that says the government would have then 6 months to bring a new indictment.
Bingo. Okay, so that's the important part of that you guys just need to remember. So the issue here now, and we've talked about this before, is time, right? And everybody's impatient. Everybody wants everything to happen yesterday, and they're moving as fast as they can. They want to make sure that they have solid cases that they are bringing forward, and these kind of technicalities can get in the way. However, they do have, as you heard Andy McCarthy explain, they have 6 months, the federal government, to replace Lindsay if in fact the court decides that the clock has ticked the 11th hour, or I guess in this case it would be midnight, and that she's out. But the indictment, in theory, then should still hold, or you push back the clock and you get that additional 6 months. That's what I would hope would happen. Certainly in the Comey situation. The other thing that the administration will likely argue is that Comey has actually effectively lengthened the statute of limitations against him because he was out there, I mean, quite recently, speaking out against Donald Trump over and over and over again, thereby having this live another day. And so that will be another argument they make. In terms of Letitia James, I mean, you got plenty on this lady. I mean, for goodness sakes, you don't have to stop at the mortgages in in Virginia. You got one or two in New York as well. Well, certainly the brownstone, the brownstone that was somehow the family dwelling that actually she was renting out, and she said was only 4 floors when it was really 5. I mean, these are the kinds of things that they can go after. Don't forget, Comey has won himself no friends there because of all of the exhibits that have come forward, and even Democrats are looking at this going, oh gosh, this doesn't look good, because he wrote on FBI stationery that he was going after John Kerry, or rather John Kerry was going after Donald Trump. He wrote about the debts to Moscow, which were not actually true. He talked about the journalists that maybe he should be talking to in light of all this. And he's got emails, right, with his friend. This has all come out, you guys. The Columbia Law School professor that was willing to stump for him, and by the way, was on the FBI's payroll. I mean, given new meaning, shall we say, right, to deep state. Then there is this text exchange. This is part of Exhibit 10 that Lindsay put forward, where you've got this FBI special employee who went by another name. I mean, I'll tell you, he's no match for Comey, though. Do you see this one? Reinhold Neuber 7@gmail.com. That's Comey's fake name. Who comes up with this stuff? Only Comey. Anyway, he's lied, and I want to share with you some of those lies. If you watch the Trish Regan show, you know this, but he is accused. He's going to debate semantics here, but well, I'll just play you this sound and you tell me what you think, okay? Here we go.
Wow, there's this little thing called tape.
Director Comey, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
Never.
Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No. I needed to get that out into the public square, and so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
And there we have it.
There you have it indeed. Okay, so he was looking for that special counsel. He wanted that all along and was trying to stack the deck effectively to make sure that all of that happened.